Hey, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're here today for what I know is going to be a really fascinating conversation. And I'm also excited to welcome back the CEO Chat series. You know, occasionally we try to interview CEOs from around the industry to learn from them and insights from them about what's happening in the business and the market. And I'm really excited to welcome Brian Chiou to this week's CEO Chat. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, Sid. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, Brian, you and I met just a couple of weeks ago. I'd heard of your company and I really didn't know what you did. And I think I told you when we met at the INDEAL Champions Conference that I was excited to learn about your business, and you've blown me away. And so I'm like, you have to come on to the podcast. We have to share what it is that you do. So, I want to, before we dive into Hello Raye, you're relatively new to the office furniture industry.
Yeah, no, I definitely am. And, the first furniture conference I went to, I met someone, they were like, why are you in this industry voluntarily?
That's a
No,
great question, by the way. Why are you in it voluntarily? Yep.
yeah, I would say, 6 years ago, I got really involved in the office perk industry,
Okay.
specifically around food. Getting people to eat healthy, fresh food at the office. And, that was its own company and it grew to a certain part. And I came to realize that technology can do wonderful things, right? Making things that originally weren't accessible more accessible. And so, I looked at what else could be done for the basically office perk industry is interior design. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that could change the mood of a place or mood of an employee, help with retention, keep butts in seats, etc. And yeah, I thought, hey, I had looked for office furniture for my own startup, and I realized it was very difficult to do so, right? And I ended up going to a marketplace like Wayfair and IKEA and getting products from there, where actually it was delegated to an office admin, and she went and spent like $20,000, $30,000 in furniture that, quite frankly, was terrible.
Sure.
And I realized like this was going on with probably 99% of businesses that are out there, right? And
Yep.
I think that that's an opportunity for everyone in this space, right? How do we take that business back from these players that, offer cheaper products, cheaper price, but they're not educating the consumers as to like, what are the drawbacks of this, right?
Sure.
And so, yeah, that's kind of what led me into this journey in the furniture industry.
So, I mean, your background, you're a tech guy. You've done a couple of startups. And so technology is really what your thing is. And so you started investigating an opportunity because you saw a need for something based on your own experience, both with the startup, but also with purchasing furniture yourself. But talk to me just for a minute, Brian, about that research process that you kind of went through to really identify that interior design / office furniture was a place that you wanted to be as a technology startup.
Boston is a really good community
Mm-hmm.
for architecture and design. And that wasn't planned. It just happened to be the case that when I stumbled on this idea of a more transparent B2B purchasing experience, there was this vast treasure trove of A&D that could help guide me on
Sure.
the things that they hated doing when it came to furniture specification. And I think I wanted to help designers streamline their workflow and get a better understanding of, okay, where there may be opportunities to kind of surface that information up so that corporate buyers like myself and my previous startup could just identify very quickly, like, hey,
Sure.
what is going to be my investment into this? And, you know, and so I think the user interviews for the design firms was really eye-opening, right?
Right.
We noticed this pretty obvious gap in the market. The junior designers, the the people just out of interior design programs, they were not wanting to talk to people. They're saying,
Yep.
hey, I prefer Westcom contract. I want this e-commerce feel, but not for it to be e-commerce, right?
Sure.
Because the more reputable commercial brands aren't listing all their products on Amazon or Wayfair, and you're definitely not seeing the actual pricing, right?
Yep.
So, and then we saw the senior designers, the principals, and they're saying, hey, we have all these dealer relationships that we love, and it's in my Rolodex and I have all these things bookmarked. I'm like, well, it's interesting. You're not the one actually specifying product really as much anymore. It's really the junior
Right.
designer. And I came to realize that there really wasn't a good platform for these junior designers, right? They mentioned a myriad of tools, and they all had gripes about each and every one, right?
Sure.
Pinterest being the biggest one for inspiration. And so if you look at Hello Raye, we're trying to bring together, that feedback from the design community and create a product and experience, right, out of that, with
So
an emphasis on experience.
I love the fact that you went to a user group and you started asking questions. It's not like there's a difference in you going and asking a designer user group questions versus me, because I have an intimate knowledge of the furniture industry. You do not. And so you sat down, you had this idea, and then you started asking users questions that identified their pain points, and you looked at what their pain points are, and you created a solution to solve those pain points that benefits our industry as a whole. I mean, all aspects of it. It benefits the design community, the brands, as well as the dealer community. So, Brian, give us a 30,000-foot answer or view of what is Hello Raye before we dive into the details of it.
Yeah, Hello Raye is a furniture and FF&E search engine for either corporate buyers or designers, whether you're at a dealership or at a A&D firm.
Okay, so that I love that simple definition. It's a search engine that anybody can go in and type in information that they're looking for, and options come up. So it's Google and Pinterest got married and had a baby, and that's Hello Raye.
Yep, and I think that the gap with Google is the way that people search, right, within
Yep.
our industry. We're conforming to that. As opposed to Google is not, right? So
sure. Well, and I don't know how many of the listeners have done this. I'm sure you did it, but if you Google office furniture in Google, the first 2 pages are ads, because it's a huge keyword. And I mean, you get Wayfair, you get all these other B2B2C websites where you can go buy things, because it's such a huge keyword. You never really dig into what real office furniture is. And then when you go to Pinterest, I mean, it's just can be so complicated to search on Pinterest. Though I love the platform, it can be really complicated to search on Pinterest and find what you want. And there's never been a website that had all this product on it that you typed in mesh back task chair, and all the options that are currently on your site come up right in front of you.
Yeah, I think the search and data piece is definitely where we're trying to bring that to this industry.
Yep.
And actually, if I back up a little bit, I did talk to dealers and brands as well, and we figured, and we're still asking questions to this day from the sell side, the dealers and brands,
Sure.
and learning from them daily. And I think one of the biggest issues we found was data, right? And what tools they could utilize to help designers, with their process of finding products for their projects. And so, yeah, I think that focus on data has really served us well, and we're starting to see that designers who are going through the Hello Raye experience are 8 times more likely to find a product today than they were 6 months ago, because our system's getting more and more intelligent.
Wow. That's really important. That's a statistic that I think 8 times more likely to find a product that they want today versus yesterday. But Brian, as an industry, data to us is always typically regulated around sales data, right? Or revenue per product line or profit per product line and those kinds of things. We've never really been an industry to collect a lot of other data. And I do think we've been slow to adapt to some of the tools in Web 2, and certainly some of the tools that are starting to develop in Web 3. We've been really slow to adapt to those. But why is data so important? Let's talk about just the holistic approach to why is data important to an industry like the office furniture and interior design industry.
Well, I think from the brand and dealer side, you can start focusing more so on the things that are going to pay you dividends, right? This is a marketing and sales focused industry. And also, I don't want to undersell the importance of the relationship, right? But I think the data helps the dealers and brands. There's a finite amount of time, the way I view it, right? And data
Mm-hmm.
and understanding that data will make them utilize their time on those relationships the most, efficient way.
Sure. Well, it's the one thing we can never get back is
Yeah.
time. And it's the one thing we can't create more of is time. So you're giving us a tool to use that time more efficiently and effectively that's backed by data that informs decisions that people, brands and dealers and anybody else involved in the platform would want to know, because data, once you have it, can be a really, really powerful tool to fuel the growth of your business.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's going to be a big foundation for Hello Raye is, those who choose to use the data, because the dealers, the brands all have dashboards to see, their opportunities, right, within the design community that's using Hello Raye. And
Mm-hmm.
that's very intentional. We want to reward those who are putting the effort, right?
Sure.
And I think, you've done ads on AdWords, right? The more effort you put into it, the better it gets, right? And I
Sure.
think
Absolutely.
Hello Raye is trying to be in that position without completely price gouging the industry. So, yeah.
Well, and I want to back up for just a second, because I think you said something. There's a dashboard. So in order to really effectively use and be a partner to Hello Raye, you need an account. Whether you're a brand or a dealer, you need an account. And you can go out to the website, which is Hello Raye, and it's spelled RAYE.com. We'll put all that information in the show notes so people can go and check it out. But you can go search now, but to effectively use the platform, you need an account, right? And once you do that, you get a dashboard, and you skipped over it, but you said a dashboard of opportunity. And the frequent listeners to the show have heard me talk about a lot about how sales is changing in our industry, how we need to shift our mindset from always finding new customers to being found by our customers. I talk about that from a perspective of content creation, being a thought leader, being active in digital sales strategies and things of that nature. But Hello Raye is exactly all those things combined, because once a designer goes out, and I'm simplifying it, tell me if I go wrong, okay? But once a designer goes out and they start picking products, they're building a board. They've logged in, they built a board. They can take that board and share that board with a customer. The customer can comment on it, add products to it. They can then take that board and they can share it with a dealer if they already have a dealer. If not, there's a button on the website that says request additional information, and boom, there's a lead. So
Yeah.
what do you do with that? That's that seeking to be found mentality that I talk about. So what do you do with that lead?
Yeah, that goes out to our dealer network. There's a lead generation area for dealers to say, hey, I want to invest my time and try to develop this relationship with Hello Raye Facilitating. Um, I think that the key is we want to introduce the relationship between a designer and a dealer at the right time, right? Nobody wants to waste their
Sure.
time either on the dealer side or the design side. So, I think that Hello Raye is almost an intermediary. It really is what you're saying, push versus pull marketing.
Yep.
Searchability of Hello Raye was, you hit the nail on the head. We're completely open from a search perspective. You Google black mesh chair, there's a high chance that you're going to find one of our pages, right?
Sure.
So I think, you know, that's the value we wanted to bring to the dealer and brand community, is that exposure to those people who are starting from the Google, not starting necessarily on a
Mhm.
brand site or a dealer site.
Yep. So the comparison that I have here is that Google's not giving you a lead, right? Pinterest is not giving you a lead. It gives you an IP address of somebody that visited your website, and they have to opt in or hit the request information. You've got all that built in, that functionality built into one site. So when the designer who's been working with their client is ready, she can then say, okay, I need more information on this, and boom, there's a lead. And if there's anything in all my years of sales, Brian, I would sit down with a dealer principal and I would say, especially when I was in corporate, like, what is it that I can do to help you grow your business, be more profitable? Inevitably, every one of them said, bring me more leads. Bring me more leads. And it's needed in our industry because typically once somebody buys a product, it's 10 years before they make another significant purchase. They might buy here and there, but really it's about 10 years because of the qualities of our products, our contract products anyway, that they're going to need furniture again. And so always finding leads has been important. And now you're giving them that based on the people that are on your site using. And when you told me this the other day, I was a little bit taken aback. How many designers are using your platform currently?
11,000. We started actively marketing to the design community about 14 months ago. Mm-hmm. And so, the growth has been pretty good to see. As of this past month, we were averaging around 50 new designers daily. And the year before, we were at like 3 or 4 designers daily. So I think I'm happy that that's happening. I think that's a good problem to have. And, that's kind of led me to our next iteration of Hello Raye, which is, going back to what you were saying, I didn't really need to vet too much from the dealer and brand community because I'm saying, hey, like, who's going to turn down a lead? If I can bring in more interest, what do I necessarily need to validate on the dealer and brand side, even though I have plenty to learn there? And I think, just so obviously this, Sid, but our relationship with INDEAL is going to help us fill in the other critical piece with fulfillment, right?
Yeah. So I want to talk about that relationship with INDEAL, but I want to just reiterate what you just said. There are 11,000 interior designers in North America utilizing the Hello Raye platform. You get 50 new signups a day. If you're an office furniture dealer, I hope that you're pausing this podcast right this very minute and scrolling to the show notes and clicking on the email address for Brian, emailing him, asking him how you can get involved. There's 11,000 people looking for products on Hello Raye or have signed up to use the platform. That is a huge number.
Yeah. And it's the number doesn't tell the full story. It's actually junior designers and now a lot of students from top interior design programs that represent 20% of that base.
Yep.
So you're talking about the next generation of designers that are going to be working at great firms and great projects, right? So getting a brand impression early, whether you're a dealer or a brand, I think, that's another benefit we want to bring to the space, right? There's always fresh blood to market to. Well, here's a single source for you to get in front of them.
And we've never had a holistic way to go about doing that, right? We know where the design schools are, or at least the ones that are accredited, because there is a list out there. And you can individually, you can go and try to get on their calendar to present your favorite brand, or maybe you take your extra literature or fabric samples over they can use to create their boards. I think a lot of that's going away and it's going to digital now. And you're providing a tool. And the key thing that you just said was brand awareness. You're creating brand awareness for the next level of buyer or influencer that is going to come up through the ranks sooner than later. And if you can build a relationship with them now and support them now, when they get into that position where they are really specifying product and they know who you are, there's a higher probability they're going to go and pick your products first. So lots of power there. And I love what you're doing. Again, I was fascinated by the whole conversation. So let's talk about step 2 and what it is that you're building with INDEAL and how that's also going to help facilitate things. So.
Right. So Hello Raye, again, was the search engine for furniture. And then the other piece, which is how do we make the dealer and brand community take those leads and bring them all the way down through the sales funnel into fulfillment. I'm not a huge fan of reinventing the wheel. I am very much a Web 2 technology person. I think part of that is you work with other great companies, and INDEAL came on my radar. Their program really helps enables dealers and brands to streamline how they work together, as well as bring a suite of technology partners into one place. And here I was coming in and saying, hey, I don't want to own the entire thing. I just want to try and really remain razor focused on bringing new business in this industry. I just need a great place where I can trust handling these leads to for fulfillment.
Sure.
Right. And I think this partnership with INDEAL and some of the companies that are there, like KISP, potentially, it's gonna help this entire ecosystem from inspiration to fulfillment get a little bit more streamlined,
Sure.
which I think is heavily needed, as well as making sure all that data is tying together, right? So
Mhm.
that's the other key piece, so that dealers and brands can remain informed. Hey, where are their leading indicators for sales, right?
Sure.
It's unprecedented because it just everything is multi-channel, right? So
Yep.
um, and actually about multi-channel, I think this industry is amazing. There are so many smart folks who have identified process problems, and a lot of these folks are trying to build technology solutions themselves. And we're not here. Hello Raye is not here to say, hey, like abandon all your ways. You have to use our solution. No, we want to adopt it, right? We want to say, hey, what's your workflow? You're a 50 million a year dealer. We'll help accommodate your workflow and try to make it 2-3% better every year, right?
Mhm.
Through technology, if we can, right? And
Yep.
so you don't have to worry about creating an IT budget, build it yourself. Just let us know
Sure.
and we'll help you, right? Because as you said, I am a technology first guy and I'm trying to learn this industry and I'm learning a lot from everyone here.
Well, you're transforming an industry in a very positive way, right? You're giving tools to us that help make us more efficient, that help generate leads to our business, that help build our brand awareness. I could probably keep going on and on about the benefits of what you're doing. Historically, as an industry, we've been really slow to adapt to new technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But the one thing that we can be 100% certain on, and you and I can agree, and hopefully everybody listening can agree, technology is here. And it
Mm-hmm.
is time to embrace it in a different way than we've ever thought about embracing it before. And I do believe one of the most powerful things you just said was don't go reinvent the wheel all by yourself. Don't go invest all this money and effort into coding and all this kind of stuff to build something. Partner with people who are already doing it, like Hello Raye.
Correct. Yeah. Um, yeah, I couldn't say it any better. You're good at this, Sid.
I've had a couple of years of practice of this, but I do get a lot of feedback on the podcast, Brian, about people really appreciate when I reframe what I heard you say and put my spin on it,
Mhm.
because I hear what you're saying and I just want to say it back the way I heard it. And hopefully other people listening also hear it the same way and can add their own little spin to it. But, it is time as an industry that we embrace technology in a new way,
Yeah.
and that we really look at how technology can fuel our growth, because the old ways are dying. Cold calling is dying. Cold email is dying. Cold outreach in general is on significant decline. We've got to look at how technology tools can help advance and grow our business and make us more profitable, whether you're a dealer or a manufacturer, and for that matter, a design firm, because you're also shortening the cycle time of the hours that a designer would spend searching 10 different websites or 50 different websites. You're giving them this tool, which makes them more efficient as well.
Yep. Yep. Definitely.
Just good
Uh,
all around, man.
yeah. And I just this idea of omni-channel is here to stay. We
Mhm.
we know that. We see it in other industries, and I think the dealer community is something that I've just come to really care about because there is a ton of hustle and grit in that space.
Yep.
And here's a quick turnkey way to become omni-channel and tracking how you're doing.
Sure.
So
Data is king. Data is king. So
yeah.
Brian, before we before we wrap up, I mean, I'm super excited about Hello Raye, what you're doing. I mean, I was fascinated by playing around on the website and all the stuff that's there. And as you continue to grow, it's going to be really great to watch it. But part of the CEO chat is getting to know you a little bit. So talk to us about Brian. Tell us a little bit about your story.
Oof. So I've always loved the idea of building something.
Sure.
But I enjoy people using what I've built that have solved problems ever since I was a kid. I
Mhm.
used to build little flash websites for restaurants or photo albums for neighbors. And I fast forward, man, 20, 22 odd years, and I'm still no different.
That's
Uh,
great. Really
yeah,
leaned into that passion.
definitely. My family is still kind of they're my bread and butter and why I wake up every day and try to
Sure.
put in the hours to make sure that there's food on the table given the like market. But no, I think this company is my other child, right?
Sure.
It's something that I really want to see grow up and you know be impactful, right?
Yep.
For this space. So, I don't really like disconnecting professional and personal. I actually have in the last 12 years of doing my own companies has really conditioned me to be comfortable with both of those things being blended and being happy about
Yep.
it. I'm
Integrating
lucky.
the two.
Yeah, I'm lucky, right?
Sure.
To be in the position that I'm in, and you get this, Sid. You have your own company, so
Yep.
there is something about having a vision, pursuing that vision, remaining razor focused, and interfacing with clients, right? Like
Sure.
you are right now. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So you do you mind me asking, where'd you go to college?
UMass Amherst.
Okay. So you're a Boston guy.
Yeah, I was born outside of Philly,
Okay.
so bad fans all around, right? Philly fans aren't known to be nice, nor are Boston fans.
Wait,
So
so are
gotta
you a
fit
Philly
right in.
fan or a Red Sox fan?
A Philly fan.
Oh gosh,
Yeah,
dude, I'm gonna have to go grab my Red Sox hat and put it on for you.
look,
10
I don't dislike the Red Sox. I don't, I've been to Fenway a handful of times. That
Sure.
it's more of, hey, I'm not a Yankees fan.
The Red Sox fan will certainly appreciate the fact that you're not a Yankees fan.
Yeah, they didn't like that I was
That's
an
great.
Eagles fan though.
Yeah. Well, as most people know, one of my past careers, I spent 10 years working for a company based in Boston. And dude, I fell in love with Boston. It's such a great city and, so much history there. I remember taking my kids there one spring break and just enamored at all the things because there is so much history there. But I'm just going to tell you, you can keep the snow, dude. I don't want anything to do with that. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's why I'm eyeing Texas for sure.
come on down.
Come
But
on.
just so you know, we're getting into the time of year where it gets really miserable. It was 97 degrees a couple of days ago, and in May, that's really hot. So, yeah, it can be a little miserable this time of year.
Yeah, well, I like cranking up the AC. So
Yeah, me too. That's why I have a sweater on because it's freezing in my house at the moment.
deregulated energy is not
That's
so bad
right.
either, right? So,
Yeah. So I just out of curiosity, go back to this. What was your degree in?
computer science.
Computer science. So this makes sense why you're focused on technology. So I know you went and worked in corporate America and you did a couple of stints at a couple of different really well-known brands, but what was the desire that Brian raised his hand and said, I'm going to become an entrepreneur and I'm going to become a tech entrepreneur,
Yeah.
as if that wasn't one of the hardest things to enter into is tech startups.
Well, so I think I was at an agency helping
Yep.
businesses grow their digital presence
Sure.
for about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I had worked as a project manager for helping big brands scale up their website. And then I think the last position I had really kind of inspired me to just take that leap of faith, which was more of a startup consulting agency.
Sure.
And I remember I was such a terrible employee because I was always so fixated on my opinions. And I think I've grown up since then.
Sure.
But the CEO at the time was like, Brian, why don't you just start your own thing? And I was like, it's not a bad suggestion. And I remember, and I still am friends with this guy to this day. I struck out on my own by becoming friends with a car garage owner out in Durham, North Carolina, Neil's Garage. And I said, hey,
Sure.
your digital marketing presence is pretty awful. Let me help you. And I helped him, right? He was doing 250,000 a year in auto repair. After
Yep.
all the SEO and stuff, he was doing 2.5 million.
Wow.
And then, yeah. So, those are the things and then I did, and then he referred me to other people, and that kind of led me down my journey. And I met my business partner, Brandon, who I'm still working with today. He's my CTO. Believe it or not, I don't code at all anymore. There's a lot smarter people who do that now. And so
Sure.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting that leap of faith that car garage owner kind of took with me and invested in me, that really became the point of validation where I was like, okay, let's try and do this. I can
Sure.
at least consult, help these businesses grow from like moving companies that have been in business for 100 years, right?
Yep.
Lad Moving, they've been in business since horse and buggy, right? And so it was really cool that I could roll up my sleeves and help these service companies in a local area embrace digital.
Sure.
So kind of what I'm doing today is actually fairly similar, but there's a little bit more scale behind Hello Raye versus helping build out web presence for coffee companies, car garages, lawn care companies.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, no, but
Absolutely.
I loved it though. It was great. They really taught me to think on my feet and understand and empathize with what the market needs and what people are trying to search for, right? And I think that's kind of similar to what we have here. What are people searching for, right? Everyone's optimizing for the task chair, but I'm trying to optimize for office planning for 50 people, right?
Sure.
150K budget. Because I think right now, who are those people going to?
Great question.
And I really want to answer that. And when I find out, I'm going to bring that business to this industry.
You say, my guess is those people that are doing that kind of Googling are not ending up on a brand or a dealer's website. They're ending up on Wayfair or some other e-commerce site and figuring out how to do it that way. So, Brian, I'm fascinated by anything technology. I love anything that has a positive transformation in our industry because I've been in it for a long time and I've loved seeing it transform and grow. And I think now is the time that we all need to lean into this. So I applaud you for what you're doing. It's been such a privilege to get to know you, to meet you a couple of weeks ago, to have a couple of the conversations that we've been having. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your insights about what is Hello Raye, where you're going, and just a little bit about your journey. So thanks so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Sid. This was great.
So, Brian, if our community would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Send me an email, brian@helloraye.com, or LinkedIn.
Perfect.
I have all my social channels up and running. Omni-channel is a theme here. So.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We'll be sure to drop the website link to Hello Raye, as well as Brian's email address in the show notes, as well as his LinkedIn profile and other social profiles. Just remember, if you do reach out to him on LinkedIn, be sure you hit that add note button. Let him know why that you're connecting with him and that you heard him here on the Trend Report podcast, and you want to learn more about Hello Raye and how it can impact you and your business. Brian, thanks again, man. I really appreciate you being here today.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Ed.
All right, we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone.
All right, take care.